What up, Shredder? One time I got new bindings and I went down hard in the park. I did not understand what went wrong, so I just unstrapped, walked up the hill, and tried the same trick again. The same thing happened and my hip hurt for a month. By the time I got back to the car, I realized my bindings had come out of the box with forward lean on them. I took off the forward lean and the problem was fixed. It turns out that skill is important, but gear does make a difference. So today, let's talk about 5 snowboard gear adjustments holding you back. Number 1, flex of your board. I once bought a board that was so stiff it felt like I was riding a 2x4. It was not fun to ride at all, except when hitting massive jumps, and I recently heard David Benedict echo the same thing. He said, "Sorry for anyone that bought my Pro model, because it basically didn't work under 50 miles an hour."
Like, my board was unrideable, like, apologies to anyone who bought it.
Now, depending on what you like to ride, the flex of your board, which you can find on the manufacturer's website, can make a huge difference. If you love to jib, meaning to hit rails and press your snowboard, it really is easier if you have a softer board. And people always ask me, can I butter on my snowboard? Yes, you can butter on any board, but the stiffer it is, the faster you have to go and the harder it is to press, which is a good thing if you like to ride fast and hard, and not so good if you're a beginner. If you love to jump, big jumps, you probably want something stiff that's stable at very high speeds and can handle impact. And of course, if you love to carve, ride power, any other combination, yes, your board actually does make a huge difference here. Which is why when I go to Japan, I swap out my park board for something with a huge nose that floats in the POW. But that's still pretty soft because I want to keep it playful and I'm not hitting any 80-foot jumps recently. Ultimately, the best way to find a flex that you like is to go to a demo day at the mountain, where all of the board companies come out and try all the boards. It will become clear what you prefer. I found that the flex ratings on the website don't always match up to my actual experience riding the snowboard. Number 2, stance width, angles, and setback. It seems like Shaun White likes to stance so wide that he might actually have to drill his own holes. And some jib kids these days ride stances so narrow, they practically have their feet touching. So what's going on? Where your bindings are attached to your board makes a huge difference. Now, every board comes with a recommended stance marked on the board, which you pretty much can't go wrong with. But depending on your riding style, you might want to switch it up. Most of us don't ride as wide a stance as Shaun, or as narrow as the local park rat who rides by the jumps and only hits the rails. Most of us are somewhere in between. Other factors in deciding your stance include any knee pain or issues you have, how much you ride switch, and what kind of terrain you have at your local mountain. I personally ride 18, -12, 22.5 inches wide, and I'm 6'1". Let me know in the comments, what stance do you ride? Then there's the setback. For years I rode so much park, I rode twin tip snowboards with exactly the same amount of tip and tail. I got a lot of mean looks in the lift line on POW days. Now that I free ride a lot more, I really enjoy having a bigger nose, which didn't actually hurt my ability to ride switch. Just look at Red Gerard. And when it's a POW day, to keep my back leg from giving out, I set my stance back even further. Number 3, the camber of your snowboard. If I could just ban reverse camber snowboards, I would.
Right to jail, right away.
Snowboard camber has been the topic of endless debate, but as far as I'm concerned, reverse camber is only for beginners who want to feel like they're riding on a flying saucer. A snowboard is meant to have contact points with the snow and support you when you put pressure on the nose and tail. But talk to Dan and he has no problem hitting big jumps with a reverse camber snowboard.
Kind of scary.
I'm pretty sure he loves it for rails and it gives him a really unique style that I don't have. So clearly my opinion is specific to me and not everybody feels that way. And I love snowboarding and especially jumps and turns a lot more when I switch back to traditional camber, which contrary to popular opinion, camber snowboards still flex and float in the powder. These days, most manufacturers claim their snowboards are a mix of both rather than one or the other. And to be honest, I bet a lot of you in the comments like this, so maybe I'm just being a hater. Number 4, the stiffness of your bindings. Bindings determine the feel of your connection to the snowboard, kind of like choosing which shoe to skate before you go to the skate park. A lot of my gear preferences come down to feeling stable on jumps, like I have control of my snowboard. When I switched to softer bindings, I just felt like my snowboard was less responsive, and therefore more likely to do something that I didn't want it to do. It was kind of fun for surfing the mountain or tweaking my grabs, but not so fun for takeoffs, landings, or even technical rail tricks. I like steel bindings that move when I want them to, so I can feel like I'm in command of my snowboard, which is why I usually choose ride or roam bindings. But I know others prefer the exact opposite and ride a soft plastic binding. So let me know, what kind of bindings do you like? Number 4, the right fitting boots. There is this weird phenomenon where shop kids, people who work in snowboard shops, brag about how small their boots are.
Genuine ostrich.
Like riding snowboard boots 3 sizes smaller than your shoes is somehow impressive. Don't let them talk you into riding boots that are much smaller than your shoes unless you like it. I ride pretty hard and I buy boots that fit me on day 1, not that pack in after 3 months of excruciating pain. The most important thing about the boots you choose is that they're comfortable enough that you don't want to head to the car and go home. And they're not so small that your toes lose circulation and go numb. From there, you can optimize for performance. But if you can't stand to be in your boots, the chances you're going to have a good time snowboarding are slim. I highly recommend buying boots in the store, both to support local snowboard shops and because last time I bought new boots, I probably tried on 20 different pairs before I found one that I loved. This was only after buying 2 to 3 pairs online over the summer that I ultimately ended up reselling because I hated them so much. Real quick, I got these really cool straps in the mail. You can check them out at the link below. I haven't tried them yet because I'm currently injured, but since I like soft boots, but sometimes they get a little loose, these seem like something that I might really enjoy. If you've tried them, let me know. Number 5, your forward lean. As I said in the intro, forward lean can make or break you. After accidentally hitting the park with a ton of forward lean, Dan and I tested the limits of high back settings to see what would happen. And I'm gonna be real, heelside carves are a lot easier with forward lean. If you have trouble bending your knees, it might help force you into proper posture. It makes your snowboard extremely responsive. So if all you do is carve or ride half pipe, you probably want some forward lean for the backside wall in the pipe. If you only ride rails or don't want to be forced to bend your knees at all times, I'd go without it unless you enjoy violent edge catches. Gear adjustments don't stop there. We've got heel hold adjustments in your boots, high back rotation, which I never do, and even custom bindings, risers, and more. If you ride like the average snowboarder, chances are an out-of-the-box setup is gonna work great for you. Now, if you're into some really specialized snowboarding, like carving like Ryan Napton, or going 18 feet out of a super pipe, well then you might wanna customize some things. Just remember, your gear can't save you from a lack of skill. So focus on the fundamentals, keep getting better, and find the gear that works for you. And let me know in the comments, what gear adjustments would you recommend to people watching this video? Peace out, Shredder.